Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to another 80s throwback film here. One that I haven't really seen in decades. One which I, don't really hear much about these days, but upon revisiting felt like a completely different movie than what I had actually remembered from seeing it when I was much younger. That being for the 1984 film Starman, starring Jeff Bridges, Karen Allen, and Charles Martin Smith. Of course, you may know Jeff Bridges from everything. I mean, he's not only was he really big in the 80s, but he's continued to work, and probably most likely known these days for works like playing the dude on The Big Lebowski or True Grit, and just several other works. Karen Allen, at the time I knew best from Raiders of the Lost Ark and later on Scrooge. And Charles Martin Smith I'd only really known from George Lucas's second film, and what I feel is kind of like his most timeless in a way, as far as it's just aged really well, is that being American Graffiti from 1973. Anyways, the synopsis for this film is as follows. An alien takes the form of a young Wisconsin widow's husband and makes her drive him to his departure point in Arizona. Distrustful government agents, along with a more ambivalent scientist, give pursuit in hopes of intercepting them. So science fiction, an alien, a spaceship to meet up with. So of course, 80s sci-fi brings one filmmaker to mind, John Carpenter. Often I kind of forget about this film when kind of thinking back on his work. Some of my favorites of John Carpenter's are actually In the Mouth of Madness, Prince of Darkness, They Live, all of which I've done videos for, and of course Halloween. But this one kind of slips by when recalling his work because it really stands quite differently from a lot of his other projects that he's done. Now, I remember watching this one a few times when I was much younger, like maybe 11 or 12 years old, and upon this rewatch, I really can't understand how I was into this film at all back then. As the synopsis says, this alien played by Bridges takes the form of this woman's deceased husband, the woman being played by Allen, by means of a scrapbook which has a lock of his hair in it. There are some strange, special effects kind of employed to bring this transformation scene to life. Kind of like a latex and clay stop motion effect happening, since morphing digital technology capability wasn't really a thing until around the early to mid 90s. It looks a bit dated by today's standards, but it also works really well in being a bit disturbing in a way. A scene to initially kind of scare you a bit, is all we've seen up until that point is that a Voyager probe was sent out with that golden record with greetings from and an invitation to Earth. It's been recovered, and a ship is kind of dispatched to investigate where this record came from. That ship, as it gets to Earth, is intercepted, fired upon, and crashes in Wyoming. The inhabitant shown mainly from a POV where he kind of finds the DNA in this lock of hair and takes on the form of his deceased husband. So up until that point, you're not really sure what's going to happen there. Now, leading up to the transformation, we also see Alan kind of watching some old films of her deceased husband, drinking some wine, and we instantly know she is still very much in mourning. And a little bit more on that later. Obviously, the discovery of this alien has some comedic moments filled with some frightening ones. We learn that this alien is arranging a rendezvous so he can be rescued. Now he needs to kind of communicate well enough with Alan to convince her that he means no harm and that he needs a ride to this rendezvous point. There are bits of comedy in this, in Bridges playing this fish out of water alien trying to figure humans out. And I think that and the strange effects, meaning, also his high-tech abilities kind of shown throughout, are what probably stuck with me most when I was a kid. Or maybe the idea of these government agents who found and are investigating the crashed ship, sending a representative from SETI out to intercept them. That's where Charles Martin Smith comes to play. There's a lot of interest, and even some excitement in that chase. But other than that, on this viewing, I can't understand why I liked this one when I was so much younger, because at its core, this film is about mourning. It's about dealing with loss. It's heavily dramatic and heartbreaking. It's really tear-jerking stuff. And not even during the highly emotionally intense scenes, because let me tell you, Karen Allen in this, she really just knocks his entire performance out of the park. And don't get me wrong, Jeff Bridges did great. He received, a lot of notice for this role and how he's mixing the comedy and empathy the way that he did. But Karen Allen was, simply put, just amazing in this, and I feel like she didn't really get enough credit for that. She has dialogue which in and of itself, on the page, could be seen as kind of simple, almost as if she was speaking a simple definition or description, such as explaining what love is, what it means to say goodbye, or even what hunger feels like. She kind of brought it across in a way that feels very deep and emotional and personal. Such as, explaining hunger as this feeling of emptiness inside which needs to be filled. Though speaking of hunger as it pertains to needing food, there's something deeper which she's kind of expressing, that it could mean, the need for anything and how you can feel empty, such as a need for her husband who, though he's deceased, she's now sitting next to this living replica of him, constantly feeling these reminders of what she's lost, which she's still dealing with, while Bridges, as this alien, is trying to be more like him per what he has learned about him, thinking he's understanding humans more and not understanding that he hurts her by doing this. Even like the scene, explaining just what it means to say goodbye and what it means to love and how related they can be. Nothing happened, nothing happened in these scenes story-wise or with musical cues which would give you that gut punch as you feel something. It was simply her delivery of these lines which really hit hard. I know for a fact that, when I was a kid, these scenes didn't stick with me at all. I remembered stuff about the transformation, about this alien ship, about the powers that he had, but nothing about the fact that while this is a sci-fi film, it feels more like a drama than anything else. A drama set against a backdrop of sci-fi, which is being used simply to kind of give us a path for this film about mourning, love and loss, and finding the best in humanity, which is more than worth checking out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out this quick little Monday 80s throwback video for Starman from 1984, which at the time of this video is available on paid rental. This one comes up when speaking of John Carpenter's work as a whole, but often I feel like it's kind of left out. It's quite a departure from what came before and what he's done since, and is usually, his other popular non-horror film, like the action fantasy film Big Trouble in Little China. Even that one gets a lot more notice than this one. He's often referred to as one of the masters of horror, but I do feel like there's a lot more to him, and I'd love to see him branch outside of that again one day. We get the political aspects and the societal aspects of They Live. We get the action fantasy of Big Trouble in Little China, and now the reminder of this one, Starman, serving as a way for him to showcase his more dramatic side. It may be best known for horror, but these other films really stand out as well. Anyways, that's all I got for this quick one. If you enjoyed, please give me a thumbs up, and if not already subscribed, consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon to get notifications for when I put up new content, which is 1 to 3 times a week. Also, thank you very much for all my new subscribers. I just passed the 700 subscriber mark. My goal is now set on breaking that 1,000 mark. But anyways, I put up videos, like I said, 1 to 3 times a week. Fridays I do every single week. I try to focus on horror. Lately I've switched to more horror related to 80s. Mondays is also 80s, but I like to find throwbacks such as whether it's a comedy that we don't really hear much about, or a sci-fi or action one that seems to have kind of faded away, or maybe just one that I haven't seen in decades, like Starman, that I want to revisit. And occasionally I'll throw one of those, another title up there on Wednesdays if there's something new that comes along that's worth making a video for. Anyways, that's all I got for this one. Thanks again for coming by, and I will see you in the next one.